All right, thank you one more time. The program still here this morning on ITV on independent television. Today is the 30th day of December 2020, and we have less than 24 hours, less than 48 hours as a matter of fact, because we still have tomorrow. A whole 24 hours, there. So we've got about 48 hours left for this year 2020 to just pass away. And when we talk about the year 2020, we cannot forget in a hurry our nation. We also cannot forget in a hurry insecurity in Nigeria. One big issue that seems to have dominated discussions, most especially recent times. If you take Nigeria, retrospect the year 2020 in retrospect in Nigeria, you will recall that the management of internal security has become a big issue for governments, in this past few months. What are the issues? What is really responsible? And analysts have gone far to characterize the kind of insecurity situation that we have in Nigeria into insurgency, terrorism, armed banditry, kidnapping, and armed robbery. Well, it is our wish that by the special grace of God, this year 2021, we should be able to live in this country in a very secure environment. Well, to look at all this today, we are so privileged to have two panelists here, but I've got one only. The other one, we're expecting him. When he comes, we're going to make sure that he joins us so that we can also have his mind on some of the issues we're going to be talking about here. We're privileged to have Mr. Ken Erunse. Is a political analyst and also a public affairs analyst. Ken, you're welcome to this program this morning on ITV.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yeah,
good morning.
We're looking at insecurity in the country, the year 2020. We cannot forget some people that have died as a result of insecurity in the country. I was just going through my laptop some few minutes ago, the issue of Vera Mozua, the young lady that died months ago as a result of insecurity. And of course, we also understand that we also remember the 43, though it's still in contest now, 45 farmers that died in Borno State. Then the students that were kidnapped in Katsina State, only that those ones regained their freedom. But looking at insecurity in Nigeria, how would you want to characterize what you think is responsible for the ongoing insecurity in the country?
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Thank you, Edo people and Nigerians. First of all, I would like to clarify that insecurity has been with us for a long time. We all know that. And it's a result of system failure in the country. A situation where you have Nigeria being the poverty capital of the world. We have over 100 million people living below $2 per day. It's worrisome, and it's an avenue for insecurity to evolve. And we are facing those challenges because, first of all, poverty is endemic in Nigeria as we speak. Unemployment is high. Institutional decay. The systems to check these ills in the society are no more functioning as we speak. Only recently we just experienced the protest, the NSAS protest and all that, all jet towards police reforms and all that. We are battling with a lot of issues in this country, things that have to do with free, fair elections. We have, like I mentioned before, our institutions are not functioning. The police, the judiciary, and intelligence gathering is a problem in this country. So the issue is very clear. We have a system failure. And when, like Financial Times reported recently, I pray it doesn't come out that way, Nigeria is heading towards a failed state. And all the indices of a failed state are what we are experiencing today in Nigeria. First is insecurity. Nigeria, as we speak, Nigeria is no longer in control, effective control, let me use that word, effective control of the security of its citizens. And let me remind you that Section 14(2)(b) of the 1999 Constitution clearly states that the primary purpose of government is to provide security and welfare for its citizens. I can categorically tell you right now as I speak that the government of the day, or the government of Nigeria, has failed in this core responsibility.
Yeah, but you came here in a secured environment. I mean, you drove from your house to this studio this morning. Nobody harmed you.
Yeah, you will say so, but even as I was driving, I was watching my back. Because you never can tell when it's going to happen. That is why we say that it is Nigeria is almost failing. Because when you are driving, especially when you are traveling on the highway, before those days when I used to travel on Lagos, Lagos Road or Abuja Road, I really don't. The only thing I even bother about is maybe accident on the road and all that. Nobody think about kidnapping on the road or whatever, herdsmen or harm herdsmen coming to attack vehicles and all that. Nobody was thinking about those things in the past, at least some years ago. But now, when you're driving on those roads now, the first thing that comes to your mind, especially when you see vehicles at the front, maybe making some U-turn, you become scared because you're not living by fear on the highway, because insecurity is very rampant in our highways. It shows that there are a lot of criminals in our forest, living around our forest in Nigeria. And I don't know what the government is doing about that. They have not been able to fish out those criminals. Nothing is really being done for now. So we are virtually living in fear in this country. That is the honest truth.
Okay, now we know that the insecurity itself is a huge challenge. There's no doubt about that. But what seems to be more challenging is is to see some measures that government had put in place before now. These measures, government introduced them, and we don't see them yielding any results. Take, for example, former President Goodluck Jonathan. He launched the Say Something campaign slogan. That slogan was expected to motivate Nigerians out there. If you see anything suspicious, you're supposed to call the nearest security operative, so to say, so as to respond. Now, that's campaign, they don't see the test of time. And of course, we also understand that a recent government has also, introduced some various measures. Now, what do you think is responsible for this idea of bringing up measures and they don't see the light of the day? They don't handle the insecurity situation in the country.
Yeah, it is very obvious now that we're having a lot of challenges with intelligence gathering. And the key to solving security problems is intelligence gathering. That is just the truth of the matter. A country that cannot gather enough intelligence to get to the source of funding for terrorists, it's not doing well security-wise. Now, you mentioned various measures being put in place to gather intelligence, but you will agree with me that people may be willing to give informations, but the worst part of it, or the problem we have with that, is the government able to protect those people who are willing to provide informations? Now, we just mentioned people who died. I think it's that one happened in Borno State. Farmers were slaughtered.
In Borno State.
We have conflicting figures. Some are saying 110. I think CNN said 110. And the Nigeria government said it's about 40 something. Whatever you say, we have figures of dead people who were slaughtered inhumanly. What was the reason? The Boko Haram people came out to give us reasons why they did that. They said they did that because people were divulging informations to the military or to the government, as it were. So now, if the government is unable to protect people that give them information, or the security agents are able to protect those people, now what we are left with a situation where nobody will be willing to give out informations because you are not sure of protection. The military or the Nigerian government, I think it was Gabashe who tried to, I don't know what he was trying to portray when he made a statement that they didn't get I think security clearance or whatever.
Yeah.
To me, that was funny. Do they need security clearance to go to their farms? How many times will they be seeking for security clearance to go to their farms? It surely clearly shows that the government is not up and doing in checking or in using intelligence at its disposal. Because if the government was up and doing, the information would have been there that these people are coming to attack. And I even read on some papers that they even gave information notice, prior notice that they were coming to attack. I don't know how true that is anyway, but I think I read this on the newspaper there. So the point is that the security agents were not just there to protect these people who were helping them to give information as per terrorists and all that, bandits and as they like to call them now. But the truth of the matter is that in that kind of atmosphere, nobody will be willing to give information because they are not protected. In the first place, how come when those people give information, how come the Boko Haram or the terrorist organizations are able to figure out that they are the ones divulging information? Because there's a leakage of information. In developed societies, people give information to security operatives and nobody got to know about it. You wouldn't get to know because the information will be top secret. No, it will not leak. But here in Nigeria, every day people give information or try to give information, and before you know it, the enemy camp is already aware of the people giving out information.
So are you trying to infer that there is a possibility of the people giving the information to be part of the people responsible for the insecurity? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm trying to say that even the security operatives
they are suspects.
Yes, they may be saboteurs in the military. I think it's not as if the government has even owned up to this a number of times. Even at the time, former President Goodluck Jonathan said they are Boko Haram in his cabinet. He made such statement. And even the present government are making some statements to portray to the fact that they are saboteurs even within the security system.
Now, where does this leave us?
It's just a matter of we don't have a proactive government.
You can't say so. You can't say we don't have a proactive.
You know what we have? Let me just say something. What we have is a reactive government. A government is supposed to be proactive. We are supposed to be 10 steps ahead of criminals. That is what responsible governments do all over the world. They are always 10, even though there are certain instances where they may not be able to, stop the attack, or as you may call it, but you will see that even when the attack is being carried out, they have made effort to arrest the criminals or to fish out the criminals, as the case may be. Look at the case of the American that was kidnapped in Nigeria, brought to Nigeria recently. The American government did a rescue mission. Nigeria, we were not even aware until the one American, I'm telling you of one American who was kidnapped. I think they said he was kidnapped in Mali and he was brought into Nigeria,
the country,
through our borders. So how are they making effort? Our borders are porous. They'll tell you they are closing the borders. Meanwhile, people are still moving, especially in the northern borders. Mali, Chad, these areas, Maiduguri, a lot of inflow of people. And even the government policies of recent, it's not even helping matters. The visa on arrival policy, I don't think is the best way to solve the problem of insecurity in a country. A country that is battling with insecurity cannot be encouraging visa on arrival, or cannot allow our borders to be so porous to the extent that people are, inflow of people on a daily basis, and they don't even have we don't even have the necessary, do I call it technology, to get our data right. As we speak, we don't even know our population. All that we do is just forecast, or we rely on international international information.
But we've been told that the population stands within the range of 206 million. So
that itself is coming from the international bodies, not from Nigeria. As we speak, the last census we had is about over 10 years ago. Yeah. We have not had this. So that was, and we said Nigeria was about 80 million then. So we don't have a recent data of our population.
All right, the program is this morning on ITV, and we are taking a snap, looking at security challenges in the country in retrospect in the year 2020. Major hubs that we must talk about, when it comes to insecurity in the country in the year 2020. Now, one thing that seems to be a problem is, you talked about information a while ago. And most Nigerians, it bothers most Nigerians when they get to know that something happens. They don't know, they don't get the right information. Take, for example, the farmers that were killed in Borno State. Now, government source told us that about 45 farmers were killed. And we had some other foreign media telling us that it was within the range of 110 people that were killed. Then the government school boys in Katsina State, government told us that it was about 333. Then we also had other information that it was about 445. So this is a challenge. This is a problem. I mean, what should be done in this direction?
That clearly shows you the incompetence of our government to handle such issues. A government that cannot even get its facts on the actual number of kidnapped victims. I mean, that is most unfortunate.
When you say incompetence now, on what
ground? For example, let me give you the reason why I say so. At least we are aware recently. The issue of the kidnapped schoolboys.
Schoolboys.
The Borno State government, I think, initially came out to say, is it Borno State?
The Katsina State government
came out to say they were about 300 something.
333.
Meanwhile, we got from other source, from our local media and international media, there were about 600 or something kidnapped. But do you know that the media aide to the president, Gabashiru, came out to say they were just 10 of them that were kidnapped? With a ridiculous statement as that, without facts, without verifying this, and he recently came out to apologize, of course.
Yeah, it's possible that that was the information he had at that time.
He cannot come out without verified information. We're talking about the state government giving out information that they have. He should have been working with the state government.
Yeah, but you just said he came out to apologize. So
that's what I'm saying. Now, if you cannot even get things as simple as those figures of people that were actually kidnapped, I mean, that's about the easiest thing, figures to get. I mean, why can't you, if you have a school and you know the number of people that live in that school, and all of a sudden they were moved away, I think they were in boarding school, and they were moved, you should be able to know. That is a very simple information to get from any source. So that means the spokesman to the president came out to give out information without doing verification. So situations like that, it clearly shows that the government is, like I said before, they are not proactive in tackling these issues. The same thing they said various times. I think about there was a time they were kidnapped, girls were kidnapped.
The Dapchi girls, yeah.
Later, they were released, except one, Lee Shahabu, who till now we have not been able to rescue. Nigeria government has not been able to rescue. Now the farmers too, they gave us the figures of about 40 something. The international communities gave us gave us about 110 or thereabout. These are conflicting information. So first of all, we have to be proactive in tackling insecurity. We have to, the government and the security agencies need to do a lot of work as regard intelligence gathering. And intelligence gathering has a lot to do with facts and figures. Facts and figures. So a government that cannot even tell the number of students that were kidnapped, even when the state government has already brought out a figure, even though the state government figure eventually came out to be wrong, because the number of students that were eventually released were about 500 or something, if I'm not mistaken. So more than even the figures given by the state governor. So what is really happening, you will wonder. Is it that they are trying to just play politics with all this? Because I see the whole thing as being politicized. Otherwise, I don't see a government that will just be playing around with different figures on the simple issue as the number of students that were kidnapped.
Okay, let's talk about one of the most recent of it all, the NSAS protests, of which you and I, we personally experienced in Benin City here. Now, that protest was supposed to be a very laudable, way of drawing government's attention to the hues and cries of Nigerians, but it ended up turning into another insecurity issue. After the NSAS protest, we saw Nigerians, Nigerians started taking advantage of other Nigerians at the expense of, you and I. Now, if we continue to have this kind of situation, do you think we can really handle the insecurity in Nigeria? We are looking at 2020 in retrospect, all that occurred security-wise in the country. I mean, 2021 is very close by. If not for God's intervention, we would have probably had another protest We don't know what will happen in 2021. So let's talk about how we can draw the government's attention in such a way that at the end of the day, it doesn't lead to other forms of insecurity issues in the country.
The fact, unfortunately, is that we have a government that is not ready to accept the truth.
But you cannot, when you say not ready to accept the truth, have you engaged?
I have my reasons for saying that. Because the NSAS protest was a noble and laudable protest by the young people of this country. They were trying to just, in fact, they were pointing out the obvious. Police brutality, which was obvious, and all that. Rather than the government capitalizing on these facts, or capitalizing on this situation that the youth suddenly woke up to realize that they need to fight for their rights. They need to make government realize that there is a decay in the system, particularly security. Now, the police force is a very, in fact, like I always say in any forum, for a country to attain greatness, you must get two institutions right: the police and the judiciary. The reason why Nigeria is where it is today is simply because we have not been able to get our policing right. And our judicial system too is defective. Why I say so? The police is like the security, the community security. They are on ground. They are the ones that are obnob with the civil society, the ones that track crime at the community level or at the local level. So when you want to curtail crime or when you want to stop terrorism, high-level criminality, you start from the community. If you have an effective police who are able to curtail crime at the community level, before they now transform, because most of these terrorists you see, most of them were criminals, local criminals before they now transform to being terrorists. It is somebody who is not a criminal before now cannot suddenly transform to be a terrorist. It's almost difficult to transform somebody who is not a criminal to being a terrorist.
Yeah.
So that is why I say the police is very important. So yes, we have a lot of good police officers who are doing their job diligently. We have to recognize that fact too. But the NSAS protest was not against the government, so to say. It was in support of police reforms.
And bad leadership.
That is even for the favor of the police itself. Because if you look at their demands, part of it was that the police salary has to be raised. The necessary equipment has to be provided for police to work effectively. The police force, as we speak today, do not have the equipment to function effectively. They don't even have good vehicles. They don't have gadgets. They don't have, the necessary arms and all that.
Yeah.
So those are issues that would. So 2020 obviously exposed a lot of things that the government is supposed to, accept facts that have been presented and work towards preventing. Okay, jolly recently, our revered Bishop Kuka made a statement on Christmas Day, trying to wake the government up that you are failing in these areas, insecurity and all that, rather than take his advice in good faith and work towards improving on security. They were busy sponsoring faceless group attacking the revered bishop, who is a man that has always spoken truth to power.
They sponsored. People were just reacting to what the bishop said.
I don't know, but I feel that, okay, I tend to say they were sponsored because these people were attacking the bishop. We're just coming from a particular region of the country, a particular section of the country. Is it by coincidence that everybody that was now attacking Kuka were from the north? What has the man said that is not obvious? He spoke about insecurity. Is it not obvious? Why even the worst hit? The north. I expected them to commend him, rather they were casting. Meanwhile, a few months ago, this Reverend Sultan of Sokoto made similar pronouncement, but nobody attacked him from the north. They didn't make a statement about it. No presidential aide made any statement about it. But when somebody from the south makes such statement, you will see presidential aides start, and some sectional groups start lambasting or trying to attack personalities.
Okay. Now, you talked about intelligence gathering as one problem that seems to be bedeviling, security in the country. And when you say, is wanted to talk about intelligence gathering. Of course, intelligence gathering can be more effective when we have adequate and timeous response too. Take for example, a friend of mine was telling me that they heard some certain noise at night, and they called a certain police, station. I don't want to mention name now. That an officer said that, look, those guys, are they in your house? Did they get to your house? And the guy said no. So now to them, so why are you calling us? They are not in your house yet. So you just wait. Now, what I'm trying to say is that I think for most people, some of the problems that police people don't respond to all this intelligence gathering at times, even when they have the proper intelligence gathering.
That has got to do with the professionalism of the police itself. Do we actually have a professional police force? I would say no. What is the recruitment process like in the police force, Nigeria police force? It is nothing to write them about. It's man or no man thing. Before you can enroll into the police force, you must know somebody that will give you a recommendation letter, even without going through the necessary exercise.
Yeah, but you have to be recommended in terms of your character.
No, not that type of recommendation. That is even why it is bad. If it was that kind of recommendation from a traditional leader, your community leader, that would make more sense. Because if you need recommendation, it has to come from your community person. But if I want to get to police, if I want to join the police force today, if I have a friend who is very influential in the society, maybe he's even from the north, how will I just please plead with him to assist me and give me a recommendation letter? He doesn't really know me. Just because we are friends, he do that for me. But it's not from my community. That's the problem. So those are the external influences that come into the process of recruitment. Now it is damaging the professionalism of the police force. That is one of the reasons we are demanding for total police reform. When you talk, one thing is to get intelligence. What can you do? What can the quack do with intelligence gathering? Imagine that kind of incident that just happened. Now, how will you rely on the police to protect you or to secure you? These days, we all know that most of us in our various communities, all we do now is to engage private vigilantes. Even government now engages vigilantes. I just read in the papers today, Borno State government arming vigilantes with vehicles and all that to help them fight against Boko Haram. Is that not ridiculous? Is that not worrisome? We have gotten to the stage that the government itself no longer even depends on our security. The government itself no longer depends on our security institutions. They're not going for private security.
Okay. Now let's look at our highways. Our highways in recent times, have been so problematic in terms of traveling on our highways. Take for example the Bini-Auchi road. It's almost a very scary, road for people to travel on. What do you think are the issues concerning traveling on highways, security-wise?
Like I told you before now, our highways, our forests, as we speak today, our forest is filled up with terrorists, bandits, as you may call it, criminal gangs. They are all in our forest, especially in that Bini-Auchi road. I think I heard recently there was a case where a particular bus was, or the passengers inside the bus were all kidnapped. About 15 of them, I can't remember now.
On that Bini-Auchi?
On that, yeah, recently I read that. It is almost the same story on a daily basis. That particular Auchi road. It is notorious for kidnappers, and that is why I said we are almost in a helpless situation. Because
but we have checkpoints on that road, police checkpoints on that road. So what is the issue? What is
That's why I told you that we don't have I mean, to also be fair to the police, do they really have the gadgets? Do they really have the weapons to fight? Some of these gangs, some of these criminals, the kind of weapons they use, my brother, the police do not even have them. They don't have gadgets, communication gadgets, to relate informations and get backup and all that when they are overwhelmed. They don't really have them. Even gadgets to quell protests, they don't have them. So it has a lot to do with the funding of the police force.
Okay.
and the process of recruitment. That is what we call the police reform itself.
Okay. All right, the program is still this morning on ITV, and we are looking at Nigeria's security challenges in the year 2020 in retrospect, and see how we can find lasting solutions to the security challenges in the country, so that we can forge ahead as we enter the new year. We'll take a short pause now, and we'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
TMI, every opinion counts.
All right, the program's still much here on independent television, and we've got a new entrant now. We have Mr. Nathaniel Usabede, who was the former senior special assistant to the Secretary to the State Government's Office, to the State Government Office of the Secretary to the State Government. You're welcome, Mr. Nath, to this program this morning on ITV. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we've been talking about insecurity and the problem, looking at the challenges of insecurity in the year 2020 in retrospect, and trying to see how best we can, find some lasting solutions to the security. Now, we've tried to characterize, in a broad sense. We've talked about armed banditry, we've talked about kidnapping, and we've also looked at armed robbery, which is a major issue, most especially in South here. And of course, we talked about terrorism, very, very prevalent in the north. I don't know how you want to characterize, would I have anything to add to some of these security issues in the country?
Well, it's unfortunate that we find ourselves where we are as per security. I was discussing with a friend. I tried to do an analysis of how this whole thing started, the different shades and colors. Insecurity has taken in this country. Skirmishes between farmers and herders. From there, it went into Maitasini, religious extremism, which was even condemned by some of this northern government. From religious extremism, it went to religious intolerance. There was a deliberate act of aggression against the church in the north. Churches were being bombed. From there, it again went into another phase of bombing of public properties and public utilities. The Abuja Central Park, Eagle Square, and a host of other places, all in the north. The UN building in Abuja, all this way. It was still violence, it was still insecurity.
The first headquarters.
Yes, which gradually moved from there, from the violent Maitasini route into that place. Then from there we started having a deliberate genocide against the people of the middle belt, Benue Plateau, where they wanted to take over by force. Yet Allah even came out when we had the federal government to say that Benue Trough was their natural property, and they were going to annex it as a property of the Fulanis. It was in the public domain. We had a sitting government. We did not see a statement emanating from the federal government condemning in total an action taken to forestall, to stop such statement coming from a section of the people, a section of the nation, a nationality in the nation, saying it is a natural right to harness other nationalities in a federal republic. And we had a federal government that didn't do more. And from there, it was now a question of moving down south. That was when Islamization, the current issue of insecurity, took on the toga of Islamization. That it was an agenda that is being pursued by the Fulanis. And that was when we started seeing them moving down south. There were bandits in the bushes, Okene, Abuja, the major highways, Port Harcourt. They were just everywhere. And that was when people like Fayemi stood up and said, no, this cannot happen. You go to a point because the federal government was not doing anything. You had to recruit all the hunters in the state, bought double barrel for them, and give them instruction that any person they see with a cow in the state, the person should be arrested.
Okay. Now, in reaction to that, we've seen some states in the southwest, trying to have their own security architecture. They are Mutekun in the 4 states in the southwest. And some other states, even in the southeast and even in south-south. Now, do you think this quasi-security can handle the need of security that seems to be pervading Nigeria right now?
Well, it becomes a child of necessity, because the federal government that has the sole responsibility for national security has failed. And it appears there is some kind of conspiracy between some persons in the federal government and these bandits, whether we call them bandits, Nama raiders, Fulani headsmen, transport terrorists.
How do you think so?
I think so, because what has the federal government done? I gave you a critical example. When the Yetiara came up last year, what was the response of the federal government? Nothing. Okay, even right now, the recent killing in Borno, whether it is 46 or 73 or 100, what action has the federal government taken? Very drastic action. Since we be crying about Obagi, we might say that is not supposed to be something of the federal government, but the federal government controls police. What have they done? What have they done? What has the federal government done to make sure that that area that has been annexed in Edo State? I come from that part. To come to town yesterday, I had to think twice where it was necessary for me to come. You know, I would have gone back if not for a private discussion. What has the government done? Let's forget about Edo State has gone to sleep as far as security is concerned. Now, but personal opinion.
Yeah, now some persons also believe that some locals, what I mean by locals now, some indigents in some of these communities, that they collude, with some of these bandits.
Very good. So if we say some locals collude with the bandits, it means also there are persons in the federal government who are colluding with the bandits. If you hear personal testimony from some of these young men who are in this troubled zone, of how Nigerian soldiers are being sold to Boko Haram, to these terrorists, that it's even a negotiation. They will tell them to go to Ubomo, that there are Boko Haram there. They will take off from Sapele, only for them to get to Selu, they will be ambushed by the same places they were told at Ubomo. And you see them massacred. The constant cry that the weapons carried by these bandits is more sophisticated than the ones carried by the Nigerian police. To what extent has it been addressed? What has the federal government said about it? And you have an army chief of staff, you have a defense minister who have been there since the escalation of this crisis. And Mr. President has paid deaf ears to every cry by well-meaning Nigerians, including the Sultan of Sokoto, that this service chief should be removed. And yet nothing is being done. And you want to tell me that? No, so if I now, maybe out of my madness, and I say that the presidency is aware of what is happening in the country, or is part of this violence, is promoting and perpetrating this violence, I'm a madman. But when the evidence abound, that nothing decisive has been done. When Amotekun came up, you see, there was a kind of resistance. The federal government tried to kill Amotekun because it was to the conspiracy. As far as security, to the issue of security is concerned. Now, they had to do that. What did the federal government do? They said the State House of Assembly has to pass the law. And since Amotekun was set up in the West, compared the rate of terrorism in the Southeast and South-South to the one in the Southwest. Even when Fayose came up with the hunters.
So you are saying that it should continue?
It should. Let me tell you one thing. Look at where we are now. I was saying, the federal government said people should go to farm. Which farm? You know I farm. Going to the farm now is a risk. You don't dare it. Because they're everywhere. In the last 3 or 4 years, I've not been able to root one cassava stem from my farm because they take their cattle into the farm between 6 o'clock, 7, 8 p.m. in the evening. They will not come when you are in the farm. They have the demography, they have the maps, they have where the farms are located along their routes. Locals are colluding. What has the police done? Let me ask you a question. I was saying yesterday that the police does not profile those who have been kidnapped and released. Talking about intelligence gathering. And I can swear that the Nigerian police, the Edo State police, does not have the figures of those who were kidnapped this November, December. They don't know the numbers of persons that have been kidnapped. No, they don't have their pictures. No, excuse me. You don't work in the police force. I don't need to work in the police force to know this. Statement emanating from the police would tell you what the police is doing. Those who have been kidnapped that are personally seen, the police didn't interview them or interrogate them. Look, it has come to a time we have to tell ourselves the truth in this country. Whether NBC or no NBC.
No, we're not talking about
said the
NBC.
truth. Yes, because I know that is what, when you see, the Nigerians are being gagged from expressing their opinion.
But you are expressing your opinion now.
But you were telling me now that I cannot be sure of the police. But I'm asking you, the police
you said the police cannot give us.
They cannot, because they don't have it. It is not part of their operation. They have not been able to come out to say we have interviewed so and so people. We now have a blueprint. The people that have been released by these kidnappers, if the police provide them, debrief them, personal interview with 10, 15, 16, 20 of these persons, I am telling you, a pattern will emerge.
Okay.
And the police will be able, based on this information, track these people down. Now, the local collusion we are talking about is our people, is Edo people. They are benefiting because it is a source of revenue. The village where they are there, the forest where they are there no villages around them?
All right, now let me come to Erunse now. Now, Erunse, the emergence of Amotekun and some other quasi-security outfits that people have decided to come together to put in place, it's one great concern, for government. Just like what he was trying to say, that the federal government was not really at peace with it, because the suspicion has been that state government will overtake it, use it for their own political gains and all that. Now, as we glide towards 2021, there's strong evidence that such quasi-security outfits is going to come up. Most especially in the South and some other states, in the country. Now, what is the guarantee, one more time, that in due course that politicians will not use this for their, personal gains?
Yeah, the real problem we have, let me just be factual here, or let me just be frank here. The real problem we have about tackling security is that a lot of the times we play politics with all these things. First of all, whenever the southern part of Nigeria is trying to come up with initiative to quell security or insecurity, as the case may be, you will see those from the north trying to attack as if the problem is the south. Meanwhile, the problem is within there. Now, the issue of Amoteko and other security outfit that the southern part or some other parts of the country are trying to come up with, sorry, excuse me, is just to further confirm the fact that we are losing hope in our security institutions, right, as it is now. We're almost helpless. Now, we needed self-help, or we needed to now see how, but truly speaking, these things are even allowed in a truly federal system of government. The problem, that's why I said we have structural problem here, institutional problem. If we are really practicing federalism, as the name implies, we don't even need to question the state's capacity to have its own police force. The countries where we copy these things from, America and the rest of them, states have their police, even local governments have their police force, funded by the state or the local government, as the case may be. So there's nothing wrong with that. But just that there are people who are really, they are really, I don't know, they are really antagonistic to the fact that when you want to remove the powers from the center, you want to reduce powers from the center, they see it as an affront on them based on political consideration. Meanwhile, this is just the way to solve problems in this country. So yes, it is a nice initiative. It's something that will help our insecurity if the state government here, like you rightly said, if they don't use it to their advantage or they don't take undue advantage of them. And that is why the power of the people, our electoral system must be reformed to this extent that whenever a sitting governor is trying to personalize security or other institutions of government, that government should be voted out in the next election. The people must revolt against such a governor. So yes, I know the kind of people we are in this country, the governors will want to use them for their own, especially during elections, for their own selfish interests. But that can only be effective when we don't have a clean electoral system. When our electoral system is fully sanitized and we are practicing true federal, we're actually conducting good and transparent elections, such things cannot even take advantage. They cannot even do that, because that would be to the detriment of their re-election.
Okay. Now let's begin to find some lasting solutions because we must live in a secure environment. I mean, it's our country. We don't have any other place to go to except if we choose to become immigrants in other nations. How can we and how do we begin to find lasting solutions now?
Well, the federal government has to come out sincerely. The federal government has to be very sincere on the issue of insecurity. The government should stop politicizing security. And the National Assembly must be up and doing to its oversight function. And should be able to call a spade and a shovel, or a hoe a hoe. I am impressed by what the National Assembly is now trying to do. Now, we're talking about institutional failure. You see, we still have primitive idea about leadership. You know, the primitive idea of leadership is still what we operate in our present democracy, where people naturally see themselves as subservient. Institutions, heads of institutions still see themselves subservient to the president, which stems from our traditional system of government, where the Oba is king. It is not supposed to be so. Now, lasting solution, the national legislature, the National Assembly should perform its role. To make sure
they have a role.
Yes. Let me continue. They should perform their roles. First and foremost, make sure that the budget for defense is passed as at when due. In the oversight function, make sure that the various sub-headings of that budget for defense are disbursed according to what has been passed by the National Assembly. There are no diversion. The National Assembly should make sure that the federal government social programs are effective.
Does the National Assembly has a role in disbursing funds?
They have an oversight function to make sure that the funds disbursed are properly disbursed. And that is why there is a feedback to the National Assembly. That is why there is accountability. Let's take our own state here. Local government chairmen, they have a state with the Edo State House of Assembly every year, where they give report of how they have performed in their local government, especially the revenue, so the budget that has been approved for local government operation by the House of Assembly. So from that point of view, they have a way of checking the excesses, corruption, misappropriation, and so on and so forth. So also the National Assembly. So the National Assembly should make sure of that, and they should equally make sure that things like food security is guaranteed by passing enabling laws to protect farmers in the farm. Herdsmen are making life hell for farmers. What law has been passed in the last 4 years by the National Assembly to reduce this problem? What powers are they given to states or local government to be able to curtail the excesses of these herdsmen? People are not going to farm. There is food scarcity. That is because people are not going to farm. Why are they not going to farm? There is a problem of herdsmen. So the federal government, the National Assembly should be able to pass a law. Why not pass a law that anybody who is caught herding his cattle in people's farm, the person should go to prison for 15 years. Yeah, but it's a threat to food security.
Yeah, we must also, because I remember sometime this year when the legislation to back up the establishment of ranch came up. It was the same you and I, that started saying, no, we won't make, certain regions ranch and all that. Now, when we talk about the National Assembly, don't you think we as citizens will also have a role to play? Because most times when government come out, then we start to react. And our reactions most times, discourage.
That is because government is not transparent enough to convince the citizen of its intention. Nobody argues with the truth. It's not a foolish man that will be arguing with the truth. But when the government is not able to convince you, when actions of government over time has shown that government is not sincere in each pronouncement, what do you expect the people to do? People always support the government that is sincere. Especially when all this issue of insecurity has been going on. What pronouncement has the government made? Now for 4 years, you refuse to change service chiefs who have demonstrated beyond all that the incompetence in helping to solve the security situation of the country. And yet they are there, even go beyond their retirement age. Of what benefit is it to the average Nigerian? So what I'm saying is that we started with the legislator. What role can they play? What are the solutions? That's what I'm saying. The legislator should live up to its expectation.
Okay.
Come out with appropriate laws that will help to stem the tide of some of these issues that brings about insecurity. If there is no food in the country, people are hungry, how would they react? They will react angrily. One of employment. I talked about social security. The legislature should be able to examine the social security programs of the federal government, back it up by law, or even compel the federal government to dish out certain palliatives, unlike the one that was done by law. It could be a certain amount of money being paid to unemployed youth. That is social security. If somebody gets where he takes 10,000 naira a month for his own social upkeep, for his own benefit, for his upkeep, a man like that will not be thinking of crime.
Yeah, but we have such programs, you know.
How effective are they? Let me ask you, in the last 4 years, if you check the amount of money that has been released by the Bank of Industry, the Bank of Agriculture, by the Central Bank, as loan to farmers, it rose into hundreds of billions. How many farmers have you seen in the street of Benin City or in the village who tells you that they are beneficiaries of this law?
Anyway, that was one big question. Now,
these are some of the issues.
Let's hear your own opinion on finding lasting solutions quickly as a wrap-up.
The basic solution to all these problems of insecurity and other multifaceted problems we have facing this country right now is just one word: restructure. Restructure. Most of this problem we are having is localized. Not until the Nigeria state is ready for restructuring, we will not get a solution to most of these problems we're faced with. Because security has to, most of this aspect of security has to be in the concurrent list, not exclusive list. For example, a situation where it's one IG that is in control of security across the state, 36 states. It's worrisome. So the commissioner of police here in Benin today, I think he's from the north. What does he know about Edo State? So these issues can only be tackled through restructuring of the system or constitutional amendment, as we want to call it. That is where the National Assembly, I will agree with him, we have to come in. You have to solve most of this problem by amending the constitutions. There's not just two ways about it. We are just playing around this issue as if the word restructuring is one issue that will just make some people, that will give some people disadvantage and make some people to be advantageous. It is totally wrong. It is an illusion for people to think like that. People are not just ready to face the facts. Restructuring will make everybody come alive to its responsibility. People just think about oil, or the only thing they think about in this country is oil resources. Nobody's thinking about all that.
All right, gentlemen, I think there's need for us to also talk about the citizens, because the citizens, they have huge role. You mentioned how some people collude with some of these armed bandits in villages, Mr. Nat.
Yes, the citizen has a role to play.
Yeah.
One of the roles is to cry out, and the citizens have been crying out about insecurity. Now, it will be foolhardy for you to encourage any group of villagers to confront these trained, deadly, mindless butchers
That we have now.
to confront them with ordinary or bare hands. The citizens' participation lies in the hands of the government. The government has to galvanize the people. I was relating with a friend, we were discussing, I said, it's the 600 million security vote. If I'm governor, or what is wrong, if the government should give 10 million to each local government for security. And out of that 10 million, you say, look, chairman, you must employ 100 vigilante, 10 per ward. Most local governments are 10 ward or 11 ward. Place them on a salary of 20,000 naira per month. Buy a patrol vehicle for them. Employ a CSP, a major, a retired colonel in the local government. That becomes the chief security officer to the local government alongside the police. This becomes an independent security arrangement. You pay that man money and give him a vehicle to travel around the 10 wards of the local government. And every month, the chairman holds meeting with traditional rulers. These traditional rulers, you charge them with the security of their domain. Out of the 10 million you are taking to the local government, you give the traditional ruler maybe 1 million for your recharge card and whatever. And then encourage your village heads to report insecurity issue to you. And you in turn will call the chief security officer in the local government or have direct access to the local government chairman. In our local communities, the Bohemian group exists. Call the heads of these Bohemian groups.
Yeah.
Make them part of the security apparatus. Oh, we belong to this group. Look, we'll give you 20,000 naira for a recharge card every month. Your boys are in every community. Please talk to them.
Okay.
They should monitor.
Okay.
Now, you involve the people in security. When the government distance itself from, the security, from the people in terms of security arrangement, it is going to be the sole responsibility of government. And government alone cannot. You rely on these people to give you information, the so-called intelligence. You give some young men, pay them 20,000 naira a month. One per ward. Yeah. And these people are the ones that would report to the local government chairman whatever that is going on in the local government.
Okay, because of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with that, you find that by involving the people, integrating the people in the security architecture, the people now have a responsibility to protect themselves while the government is taking care of them for such services that is rendered.
Okay, thank you. Now, Ken, quickly.
Just to add to that, what he said. Yes, what he said could be right, but the truth of my own point is that to what ends? You galvanize the people, you do all that, people get information, and this information still gets, you see, most times the government still need to take clearance from the IG or police to arm the vigilantes. All right, so the problem is that we have heard instances of people that were arrested by vigilantes, look at handed over to the police, and they are released eventually because they are from particular regions of the country.
Gentlemen, thank you.
So those are the problems. It's structurally still the way out.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for finding time because of time now. Thank you so much to Mr. Nathaniel Samede, who really found time to come here this morning. I really appreciate for coming. And also Mr. Ken said. Now, when you talk about insecurity, the latest we have now is the auxiliary bishop in Owerri. That's Catholic Archdiocese of Owerri in Imo State, who was kidnapped. They're still searching for him. So we just pray that he's found on time and so that he can be reunited with the family. Well, the program is still on this morning on ITV. We'll take a short pause now. Please stay tuned.